I've read fan fiction that's better than this book. Oh my god. Ugh, it was so creepy. Hey friends, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be starting on another exciting reading vlog, and this is going to be episode number 3 of the Backlist Bonanza, which is a series that I've been starting on my channel. If you missed the first 2 episodes, I'll have them linked down below. But basically in this series, this is where I have a spin the wheel, determine which books I should read off of my backlist. I know people like to use the word backlist for like different things, but for me, I just take that as any book that's been published over a year ago or even longer ago. So like we did in the last episode, I do have my little spin the wheel, and on this wheel right now I have about 40 books on this spin the wheel, and these are all books that have been sitting on my shelves for about a year or maybe even longer. Like most of these books have been longer. I think I only have a few books on this spin the wheel that published in like early 2023 maybe, but most of these books are books that have been sitting on my shelves for a long time. And you know, the main reason why I like doing these videos specifically is because I am the kind of reader who tends to prioritize new releases. I don't really allow myself the opportunity to read backlist books very often because I get so excited about the new releases. If I'm getting like new arcs and like new books in the mail pretty consistently, then like it makes me excited to read the newer stuff. So these videos really do give me the opportunity to get through my backlist and get through books that have been sitting on my shelves for a long time. But if you are wondering, I did add like 2 or 3 books that I've hauled recently. These are books that I've personally been wanting to read for years, and they've been on my like backlist for years, if that makes sense. Like say like The Memory Police or like This Is How You Lose the Time War. Like yes, I've recently hauled those books, but they have been on my backlist for a long time, so I did add them to the spin the wheel, so I hope that's okay with you. In this video, I think the goal for me is to read at least 3 of the books on my backlist, but I also do allow myself to DNF, because like if I'm not enjoying something that's from my backlist, then like what the heck is the point of me trying to finish it if I'm not even enjoying it? And so I do allow myself to DNF, but my goal for this video is to try and finish at least 3 books, so we'll see how many we end up actually getting through. I don't know, last time it was like 5 books. All right, so let's go ahead and spin for the first one, shall we? Oh, I'm scared. What are we gonna get? Oh my god, I thought I was gonna go on paper names. Oh my god, it's the Daydreams. This one right here is a book that I've been so curious about. I think this one did publish in early 2023. It's been sitting on my shelves for about a year now. This is one that has always intrigued me, but I just never made the time for it, because this one says it's a deliciously entertaining novel about the stars of a popular teen show from the early 2000s and the reunion special 13 years after their scandalous flameout. So this one always intrigued me. I heard from a lot of people that this one had like Daisy Jones and the Six kind of vibes to it. This one's also like a decent size length. It's about 350 pages. It's not too long. So I think this morning I'm going to go ahead and get started on some breakfast, and I'm going to start listening to this one on audio. Hopefully I can find the audiobook actually. I should check my library app. But before we do jump into today's video, I just wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Aura. I recently did a Google search of not only my name but my email address, and it is really scary and uncomfortable to know the amount of information that is out there, because data brokers will sell your information to scammers, spammers, and anybody out there who might try to target you. Your full name, your email, your health records, your relatives, it's all out there for anyone to know. And that's why I've been using Aura, because Aura will show you which data brokers are selling your information, and they'll automatically submit opt-out requests for me. And cleaning up my information online not only helps me reduce the amount of spam that I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could use this information to try and access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, or lots of other sensitive information. I don't know if you saw this recently, but AT&T just revealed that over 73 million customer records, both existing and former customers, were released on the dark web. They recommended those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Aura does all of this for me, and best of all, I don't have to download several different apps just because a company couldn't keep my data secure. And I know that if my info was compromised during that AT&T data breach, I wouldn't have to worry because Aura is always on, and they're always doing the hard work of keeping me safe. I value my privacy and I value yours. So you can go to aura.com/gabbyreads to start your 2-week free trial, or you can use the link down in the description. Thank you so much to Aura for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get back to the reading vlog. It's a few hours later, but I wanted to update you because I have been reading the Daydreams pretty much all afternoon. It's almost 2 o'clock now, and I'm almost 200 pages in. I'm about 194 pages in, and so far it's been going fine. I don't know, I'm not gonna lie, the beginning of this story kind of gripped me. Like, I wasn't expecting to get invested right away, but I did kind of get invested right away. I thought it was a really interesting setup that in this story we're reading from like dual timelines. So one of the timelines we get is actually back in 2004 when, you know, all of these people were on this show called the Daydreams. And then we also get a present day timeline that's in 2018. So it's like a number of years later when like the reunion's happening and they're like meeting each other again and there's all this like scandal. But what I don't really get about this book is the fact that, I mean, we're mainly following 3 different people who were like characters on this show. We're following the character Kat, who's now a lawyer. And then we're also following Noah, who was like the show's golden boy, and he was like basically the only one to go on to like have a career in acting still. Like, he's considered a very like highly praised actor in the modern time. And then we also follow this character Summer, and it says that she was the object of Noah's fictional and maybe real life affections, and she was like the cautionary tale, you know, like she was the one who kind of went off the rails, I think. And it's interesting because, you know, this story is actually being told from Kat's perspective, but it's weird because with the way that the story has been told so far, I really feel like this is more Summer's story, and I feel like in my mind, like, I think Summer would have made for a more interesting protagonist in this. I don't know, so far I'm intrigued with this book enough to want to finish it, but I'm also like not as obsessed as I could be. I mean, I do like the characters, even though I don't feel like super connected to them, but I like them enough that like they're not annoying me or anything. I just feel like they're a little bit like one-dimensional, I guess. It does seem like, you know, Summer and Noah were definitely the young couple that like everybody got obsessed with and was like, will they, won't they kind of thing. I think something that this book is doing really well though is like showing the dark side of what it's like to be a child star. You know, like there's a lot of talk in this book about how creepy it is that like these girls were really sexualized when they were young. Like talking about how there were like countdowns on these websites to when these girls would turn 18 years old and like how creepy that is. And a lot of their like privacy just got completely fucked with, you know, like there were paparazzi everywhere. Like it was really scary for them to grow up in this kind of environment. And like the show got so much bigger than they ever imagined it could. And like they weren't really anticipating this level of fame at such a young age. And I feel like that's such you know, relevant commentary right now, especially after, you know, recently watching that documentary called Off the Set or On the Set or Quiet on the Set or whatever it was called, that Nickelodeon documentary that I just recently watched. It really makes you think about, you know, child fame and like what happens when you become really famous when you're a kid and like how that can impact your childhood and your life and like what that looks like when like the adults that you think that you can trust, like you can't really trust them. And I think it is really interesting for me to read this book like so soon after finishing that documentary, you know, because I think there is a lot of crossover there, and even though this is technically like a fictional book, I think there's a lot of truth to like what's happening to these characters and like what it's like to be famous when you're a teenager and like how that impacts your life in the future and how that impacts your adulthood and the way that you see yourself. Especially, you know, for these kids to have thought like they've already lived their prime when they were like in their teenage years, you know, and then it's like, what do they have to look forward to? So far it's been interesting. I'm liking the commentary and I am liking the characters. Like it's entertaining enough what's going on in the story. Like I'm not disliking it, but at this point, like I don't know if it's gonna be anything higher than like a 3-star. Like it's just been going fine. Anyways, I'm gonna continue reading for just a little bit longer, and then tonight me and my sister are actually gonna be going to the movies and seeing Challengers, which I'm so excited to finally see this movie. I've been hearing really great things about it and I'm very excited to watch it, and then we're probably gonna pick up some dinner on the way home. Okay, hello, it is the next morning. Last night, oh my gosh, we watched Challengers last night. Dude, I am so freaking obsessed with that movie. Like, that was an easy 5 out of 5. Like, one of my favorite movies that I've seen. I cannot believe the fucking tension between these characters in this movie. Oh my god. Me and my sister were like screaming during some scenes. We were like, oh. It was just so good. It was so freaking juicy. The freaking tea was piping in this movie. And then also the score is like one of the best scores I've ever heard in my freaking life. Which, like, no surprises here, you know, because the score of the movie is done by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Combined, they make some of the best movie scores of all time. Like, they also did the movie scores for like Gone Girl and The Social Network. So like, it makes sense why this movie score slapped as hard as it did, but I've been like listening to it all morning. Like, that movie score is just, oh my god, it's so incredible. Like, it's definitely gonna be a top favorite of mine. And like, this movie was so good. Oh my gosh, like, I don't even care about tennis that much, but like the way that this movie was filmed, like some of these shots, the way they like filmed the tennis scenes, I was holding my breath. Like, this shit was so intense. And like the actual ending of the movie, like literally screaming, I was dead. It was so good. Like, so good. I actually want to go see it again. So yeah, I loved it. I highly recommend going to see Challengers. But anyways, I wanted to let you know that after I got home last night, I did end up finishing the rest of the Daydreams. And unfortunately, I can't really say the same about this book. Like, this was not nearly as entertaining as it could have been. Especially after seeing something like Challengers literally earlier in the day, I couldn't help but like compare the drama. You know, like, I feel like there should have been more drama in this book, or at least drama that was interesting. I feel like the second half of this book, to me, it started to feel like just a little bit convoluted, just a little bit boring. Like, I was just ready for things to start to wrap up. And then the ending of this book, I personally didn't really care for the ending. I feel like this ending was just a little bit too cheesy for me, and I didn't care for it. Like, I honestly feel like I've read fan fiction that's better than this book. And like, I saw a lot of Goodreads reviews that said that, and I was like, yeah, like, honestly, yeah. I still agree with what I said in my last update about how this story really feels like it's Summer's story. So like, I don't really understand the decision to like have this book told from the perspective of Kat's character. I just don't get it. Like, I feel like this story could have been a lot more interesting if maybe we did actually get Summer's perspective and it was told from her point of view. But honestly, you know, after reading this book, it's really got me wondering, like, do I even like the trope of a TV show reunion from like 20 years ago? Because I feel like every time now that I read a book that has this trope of like these people who were all in a super successful TV show when they were younger and now they're reuniting again for the first time, I feel like every time I've read a book like that, I haven't liked it. Like, just some other ones that come to mind are like Mr. Magic and like The Reunion. Those are just some that come to mind right away, but I'm sure that I've read more and I always end up not really liking them. So like, maybe this is a trope that I actually don't really care for in books, and I'm just now realizing that. I'm probably gonna end up giving it around like a 2.5. It wasn't terrible. Like, it was good enough that I wanted to finish it. Like, it was entertaining in some ways, but I just feel like it was really lacking something that would make it great. I also didn't realize until I finished this that this is the same author as Happy and You Know It, and that was another book that I actually read a number of years ago now, and I ended up giving that book 3 stars. Like, that one just was okay for me as well, so maybe it's just like this author's writing I don't necessarily click with. Now it is time to pull out the laptop and spin the wheel once again. All right, let's spin again to see what we get. Oh my god. It's finally time for me to read Circe. Circe? Holy shit. Wow, okay, I am excited and scared because this book has literally been sitting on my shelves since April 2018. Wow, dude, we're talking like this book has been sitting on my shelves for 6 years, and I've always just been like, yeah, like maybe one day I'll get to it. This is one that I'm excited for, but also like absolutely terrified at the same time, because I have heard incredible things about this book. I think it's pronounced Circe. Circe? I'll have to look it up. I know I always butcher the Greek mythology book titles, and I'm sorry, but this is one that I'm equally excited and nervous to read because I've heard such great things about this book. Like, I've heard it's really feminist, it's really iconic, it has great characters, like I've heard all of that. But I'm also just very nervous because I am not really a Greek mythology girly. You know, like, I want to be so badly. And like, I have read other books from Madeline Miller. I did like The Song of Achilles. I feel like these are the kind of books that I have to be in a very specific mood for. And so hopefully this is the time for me. I mean, I'm not against the idea of reading this right now. So how exciting that I'm finally gonna get the chance to read this one. It's been a long time coming, I can tell you that. This is exactly the kind of book though that I think this video series is like good for, you know, because this is something I would never probably read on my own time, like literally ever. And so this is exactly why I need this spin the wheel to like pick out this book for me and be like, no bitch, it's literally time. Like, the universe is deciding for me right now, it's the time to read this book. So that's exciting. I'm probably gonna get started on this a little bit later tonight. Right now, it's a Saturday afternoon, and I'm getting ready to go to one of my friends is having a surprise barbecue. Because, you know, my iconic friend Katie, who's a teacher, she recently just got her master's degree. And so her husband Josh, you know, who's also my friend, reached out to us and he was like, hey, we're gonna be throwing her a surprise barbecue at her parents' house to celebrate her getting her master's degree. And so we're gonna be going down and doing that today, and I'm so excited.
You ever wonder if days like these last?
You gotta take in factor the wind. The goal is to hit the
With
board.
one another.
Yesterday was so much fun. You know, as I mentioned, we went to my friend Katie's barbecue. She got her master's. We spent the entire day just like hanging out with her and her family and Josh's family. It was so much fun. Like their family is genuinely so freaking sweet. And it was really cool because in their backyard, they had this whole setup that was this axe throwing, which was so cool. Like I've never actually done axe throwing before, like a real axe throwing. Cause like the little setup they had where it's like, it was like these little plastic, you know, axes and like a little dartboard looking thing, but it was so much fun. But it really made me want to try like real axe throwing. It also made me want to try archery for some reason. Like I've always wanted to do archery and I've never tried it, but it was a really great day. We were actually over there a lot longer than I thought we would be. Like we ended up having a really nice dinner too. They made like chicken, barbecue. They had like baked potatoes and salad, grilled zucchini. Like it was so fancy. It was so good. And so it ended up being a really great night, but we got home a little bit after 7:30. So I was just kind of like too tired and like not in the mood to read last night. But then this morning I woke up and I've been having a very productive afternoon and day so far. I woke up and straightened my hair and then I went and picked up some groceries. But all while doing all of the things, I've been starting to read on Circe. I think it is Circe. I don't know, I did download the audiobook and I've been listening to the audiobook and I'm now about 77 pages in. I made it all the way up to chapter 7 and I'm so sorry to have to say this, but I'm so sad that this is going to be the first DNF of the video. And I say first as if I'm going to be DNFing more books. I mean, I don't really know, but this has to be a DNF for me and I feel really shitty about it. But I'm also like, you know, maybe there's a reason why this book has been sitting on my shelves for like 6 years and I've just been pushing it off because I know that Greek mythology is just not my thing. It really just reads like fantasy to me and it goes in one ear and it goes out the other. Like I do not have any grasp on this story. I don't really even know like what's going on in the story. I feel like the language being used in this book is really difficult for me to grasp. Like it's just one of those books that I can tell that this book is probably really great. Like I can see why it has a high average rating on Goodreads. Like I can see why people love it. I'm sure that it has like a really great feminist message that people really connect with, but I can also see that a book like this just is not my thing. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by not reading this. Like I just know from those first 70 pages that this is not really my thing and that's okay. Not every book is going to work for every person and I don't think this is a bad book by any means at all. Like I can definitely tell this writing is something special and something really beautiful. I just don't feel like it's my kind of read. Like I can feel my brain just like shutting down as I'm listening to this. I'm kind of upset that I wasted an audiobook credit on this on Libro because like I knew this was gonna be a hard one for me to read, but I also like didn't even want to try to read this without the help of the audiobook because this is just one of those books that's like a really tough read for me. Like I don't know, I just don't think it's my thing. So like I should know better going forward that anything that's like heavy on the Greek mythology, I just don't think it's gonna really be my thing. Even if it is a really popular and loved book, that's just the way it is, but I'm sorry about that. I know that this is a lot of people's favorite book or that a lot of people really love this book and I love that for you, but at least now I know. You know, at least now I know and now I can unhaul this and I don't have to feel bad about it because I gave it a fair shot. But anyways, now is the time where we can spin the wheel again. This is the most exciting thing about DNFing a book early and just knowing that, okay, this one's not really working for me, is getting to move on to the next thing and finding out what we're gonna be reading next. Spin! Ooh. Oh my god, I'm nervous. What do we think we're gonna get this time? Oh my gosh. Untamed Shore? I think I know what it is, but let me just double check. Oh, this one. Okay, I found it on my shelves. It is this one here, Untamed Shore by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, who is the author of Mexican Gothic. And this book was actually first published in 2020, it looks like, but then this edition of it with this cover was published in 2023. So this one's been sitting on my shelves for probably about a year now. I think I did get this book probably like last summer. And this one, I mean, look at that cover. It's definitely giving summer vibes. I mean, there's a lot of little sharks here in the water. I don't really know what that implies. And I also don't really know what this one is genre-wise. Like, is this one a thriller? Even is it? I don't know. It says it takes place in California in 1979. I don't know. I did just check with my library and it does look like the audiobook is available at my library. The audiobook's only 8 hours long. Like, I don't think this book is very long. It's just about 300 pages. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and get started on this one this afternoon. I'm just gonna jump in, see how I feel, and then I am very excited for tonight because today, the day that I'm filming this, it's actually Cinco de Mayo, and so I'm gonna be going over to my parents' house tonight. We're gonna be doing like tacos and margaritas and like the whole thing, you know, because my family is Mexican and we do take advantage of celebrating Cinco de Mayo. I mean, we don't really need the excuse of Cinco de Mayo to have Mexican food because the amount of Mexican food that we eat in my family is actually astronomical. Like, I would say that it's normal for us in an average week to have Mexican like 3 or 4 nights out of the week. And like, that's wild. That kind of sounds like a lot, I think, for most people, but like we eat Mexican food all the fucking time. But anyways, I'm gonna start on this and I'll update you with thoughts once I know what it's about. Many hours later, it's now about 10 o'clock at night, but I wanted to update you because I am now about 50% of the way through Untamed Shore. I'm at page 156. As you saw tonight, I went over to my parents' house and we had like a really nice Cinco de Mayo dinner with like street tacos and rice. And it was really good to be able to catch up with my parents because it's been a minute since we've all hung out together. It's been pouring rain so freaking hard all afternoon and it's been like really windy, but it's weird because next week it's actually supposed to get up to like 85 degrees. Like, I think this is our last weird like stormy weather that we're gonna have for a while. But anyways, so far Untamed Shore has been going all right. I'm not obsessed with it at this point in time, but I'm also like, I'm invested enough that I want to continue reading it and I want to finish it. And so in this story, I don't even know how to describe this because when I looked on Goodreads, it described it as a historical fiction thriller. And I guess that would be the best way to describe this because it does take place in 1979. I thought it took place in Baja, California, like the back of this suggests, but I think it actually takes place in Mexico. Or at least that's the vibe that I'm getting. I'm pretty sure this takes place in Mexico. Is it Baja, Mexico then? Like, I don't know why it says Baja, California on the back of this. Because in this story, we're following this young girl and her name is Virdiana, and she spends her days in this really small coastal town where there's like a lot of sharks that are just along the side of the water here on the coast. I like the way it describes it on the back, and I feel like this is very accurate when it says her head is full of dreams of romance, travel, and a future beyond a drab town in which her only option is to marry and have children. See, then it says when a wealthy American writer arrives with his wife and his brother-in-law, she jumps at the offer of a job as the writer's assistant, and she's soon entangled in their lives. And so it's like she keeps saying that they're foreigners because they're American, so I'm assuming that this is in Mexico. So I don't know why on the back it says that it takes place in California because I think that's a lie. But you know, what's interesting about this, or like the mystery element of this, is that she starts to get involved with these foreigners and then one of them dies and then she's like, oh shit, she gets kind of involved in like their web of lies and like shit like that. But this book, I don't know if it's being like marketed perfectly because nothing really happens in the first 100 pages of this book. Like literally the murder doesn't even happen in this book until over 100 pages in. So for a long time I was kind of like, okay, what is the mystery of this book? Like, what is even going on? And I think so far these 3 American characters that have been introduced, I mean, they're all pretty interesting. We have the guy Ambrose, who's married to this girl named Daisy, and then we have the guy Gregory, who Gregory has kind of been like her love interest so far, or it seems like they were kind of like love interest, like they were like will they, won't they energy. Gregory seems like he's very interested in our protagonist. And so the first 100 pages, I don't know, they were kind of slow. It was just kind of like building the tension between these characters and building this like subtle romance romance between her and Gregory. But I do think something that this book is doing very well is like the atmosphere. Like this book has so much atmosphere. It really feels like it takes place like on a beach, like right on the coast, and like the talk about all the sharks. It's been very interesting so far. Like I do really like the atmosphere of this. I almost feel like this book would be perfect to read in the summertime because it's definitely giving me all of those summer feelings. I am really connecting to this protagonist as well. Like I don't know, I think she's really interesting. She's really smart. I mean, the fact that she knows 4 languages, I'm like, okay, that is a bad bitch right there. 4 languages, that is so impressive. And so she seems like she's pretty smart and pretty educated and not very naive when it comes to these like boys in this relationship. Like she's very, I don't know, like I just respect the way that she's like handling the situation, you know? But like, we'll see where this is going. I have a feeling this is gonna be a situation where like these American people are gonna try to like take advantage of her. But I think I am going to go ahead and finish this one tomorrow. Like, I don't know at this point if I'd rate this anything higher than a 3-star, but I am invested enough to continue reading, and like that's a really great sign to me. Hello, good morning. It is the next afternoon and I wanted to update you because I have just finished reading Untamed Shore. I'm actually doing some reading sprints with my Patreon right now, and this morning has been pretty productive. You know, I've just been like getting some things done, listening to this on audio, and unfortunately I don't think I ended up loving this one too much. I mean, the beginning was definitely really interesting, but in the second half I just really started to lose interest in like the plot and like where the story was going. I feel like this is definitely one of those like thriller books that reads a little bit more like historical, and it's definitely more of a slow burn kind of like character study type of story. I also saw this one review on Goodreads that was like there was not nearly enough sharks in this for how much like the sharks thing were on the cover and like how much it was mentioned in the beginning, which I also would agree with. Like I just thought the ending would have a little bit more of like higher stakes, but I never really felt that scared for them. Like I don't know, it just wasn't very thrilling. So like I have trouble calling this a thriller because it really wasn't thrilling. Like that was not the vibe of this at all. And even though it did have the really great like beachy atmosphere, I still feel like I wasn't as invested in the plot of this. Like I just didn't care about the plot and like what was actually happening in the story. I also did see though in the author's note at the end, she does talk about how this was inspired by Baja California and how she like had a dream about Baja California where I was born and lived as a child many years ago. And so she kind of like talks about how she like created a fictionalized version of this town in her head. And so I don't even think Baja in Mexico, I don't think she's writing about a place that actually exists. I think it's all a fictional place, which would make sense. And she said, it's my attempt to take a snapshot of a place that has long since vanished. I mean, the best thing that I can say about this book is that it really did have great atmosphere. Like I felt like this was like taking place on a beach. I could feel the atmosphere in the story, and I really did like the main character. I thought she was smart, but I also just was not invested in the mystery in this book and like the whole situation with like her getting involved with the foreigners and like one of them dying and then her getting caught up in their shenanigans. Like it just wasn't very interesting to me, which is unfortunate because I feel like if the mystery was a lot stronger in this book, I probably would have enjoyed this a lot more than I did. This was fine. I think I'm probably gonna give this around like 2.5 stars. It was okay. I feel like this reading vlog is not going very well so far. But anyways, that means we get to spin for what will hopefully be the final time unless I decide to DNF this next book. But let's not put that energy into the universe. Okay, and we're going to spin to see what are we gonna get. Oh my god, interesting. I thought we were gonna get All Systems Red, but we got The Bell Chime, which this one is a horror novella that I'm really interested in. Let me go grab it off my shelf. This one looks like it actually published in 2020 originally, so it's about 4 years old. And this is one that I think my sister recently got me this book for either Christmas or my birthday off my Amazon wishlist. And I've just been so excited to read it because I remember when I read the premise of this on the back, like just reading the premise alone gave me like full body chills. It was so creepy. This one is only about 150 pages long. So did we think I could finish this whole thing today? Wouldn't that be crazy? Because okay, literally listen to the premise of this. Like this shit is so creepy, right? It's like a missing girl, right? It says a girl suffering from paralyzing night terrors finds a missing poster hanging from the door of her apartment building. On that poster is a photograph of a frighteningly familiar face. It's her, only she's never seen this photo before, and something about its grin scares her. How its eyes seem to follow her no matter where she finds herself in the room. Over a series of strange events to follow, events that will make her question whether her sanity is still there or fleeting, she must discover what is real and what is a nightmare. Dude, that is so creepy. It gave me like full body chills to imagine seeing a missing person poster and it's your own face on the poster and you've never seen that picture before. Like that is so fucking scary. I don't know anything else about this besides that, so I'm really excited to check this one out. Oh my god, scared. I'm like low-key scared to read this, but I'm excited. Let's go. Hopefully this will be the winner of this vlog because I really need something to impress me right now. Hi, I wanted to do a quick update because I am reading The Bell Chime and I'm already 56 pages in and I feel like I'm starting to get a really good grasp on this story, so I wanted to update you before I finish the rest. But so far, this has been not really going the way that I was expecting this to go. I mean, don't get me wrong, in those first like 30-ish pages, I was like, what the heck? This is so creepy. This is so weird. I was so into it. I was thinking like, oh my god, this is gonna be a new favorite. Like, I was really excited about it because at the beginning of the story, we're just following this character who's at her apartment with her boyfriend Dexter, and she goes down to the grocery store to like pick up something, and when she's at her apartment, she's like leaving her apartment building and she sees this missing poster of her like on the inside of the apartment door. And so she's scared because she's like, oh my god, like whoever put this poster of her is like, they were able to get into the apartment building, and it was like super creepy, right? And then it's almost like this piece of paper, like the missing poster that has her creepy ass picture on it that she's never seen of herself before. It's like creepy because it's like the eyes follow her. It's like she doesn't know if she's imagining it, but when she's like moving the paper, the eyes like really follow her and they move, and like it's so creepy, right? Then I feel like quickly after about 50 pages you start to get an idea of like the direction of where the story's going, and like I am just not a big fan of the direction that this story is heading in. Like, I feel like I'm losing interest very fast, and I feel like this book thinks that it's more smart than it actually is. I think if you're somebody that deals with either, you know, sleep paralysis or depression or like suicidal thoughts, like I feel like this is going to be a really tough read for you. There is a content warning at the beginning of this book that talks about self-harm and suicide being like themes in this book, so I think that that's something that's quite a bit difficult for me to read right now. But I just got to this point where there's like an intermission in the book, and this intermission, I'm sorry, but I find this like fucking hilarious because it's like, okay, that was a lot to take in both for me and for you, and I'm like, what is this like? Are they talking to the reader like directly? And it says, if you enjoyed the story as it is, then I suggest that you stop here, continue with your breathing and shut this book out. Perhaps revisit it on a day you wish to feel that depression, as I know we all sometimes do, but if you wish to read more, if you wish to venture further in, if the story only gets worse, then I urge you to keep reading. And then it's like, let me introduce you to my friend Lauren, and then I guess we're getting another perspective from somebody, Lauren, like I don't know who this is. So I'm like, okay, is this like a collection of short stories about like this same thing happening to like several different people? Like, is that what this is about? I don't really know, but so far I'm like not that impressed. I'm really not liking this that much. Like, the writing is fine, the writing is just okay, but like, I'm so annoyed. Like, I really thought this one could be something that I would love. I mean, I'm definitely gonna finish it just because I have to know where this story's going, but at this point in time, like, I am not having a good time with this. I'm not very impressed, and this video is just, it sucks that it's not going well. I'm back with the final update because I just finished reading The Bell Chime. I'm sorry, but what the actual fuck was this book? I'm just so upset about this because I feel like this is a story that had so much potential for me, you know, because as I said, the beginning was really interesting. It was kind of almost reminding me of like the horror movie Smile, like with the idea of like a creepy version of you that you like couldn't fully understand, and it's like smiling all creepily at you. It just had such potential to be interesting. And I noticed that in the author's note at the very end of this book, she talks about how this idea was originally a really short story that was like less than 10,000 words or something, and that was probably just the first 50 pages, like the part that I found to be intriguing, and then there's like all this other bullshit. Honestly, like after that first intermission when we get the story of the friend Lauren or whatever the fuck, it got so confusing and weird, and like not in a fun way, but more in a way of like, what the fuck am I actually reading right now? Like, what is going on? You know, after the end of the story, like I do see what the author was going for, like I see what she was trying to do, but I feel like the execution of this just completely failed in every single way for me. And I'm torn over whether I want to give this 1 star because of how angry I am over this book right now, or if I do want to give it 2 stars because I did enjoy some of the beginning, and like I do see what the author was trying to do there at the end. So I don't think it's like quite like 1 star territory. Like maybe if I did half ratings like that, I would do like, maybe this is like 1.5 star. I'm just so upset because I really wanted to love this one. I wanted it to go well. I really wanted to have a win in this video because all of the books that I read, or at least tried to read in this video, ended up being a major fail. I mean, I know this book was a DNF, and I understand that this is probably a really great book. It's just not for me personally. but the fact that I read all 3 of these and I didn't have anything that I would rate higher than like a 2.5 stars is really upsetting for me. And I'm so sorry that the round of this video just had to go this way, you know, like it is what it is. I never want to come on here and like be a hater. Like I always am hoping that when I do videos like this, I can find some backlist books that I enjoy. And I know you're probably thinking, well, maybe we can just spin again and try to find something that I enjoy. But I also like, I have a lot of other vlogs that I'm working on this month and I have a very strict reading schedule for myself. So I only allowed myself so many days to read backlist books. And I'm just frustrated that none of these ended up working out. But at the same time, at least this is 3 more books off of my, you know, shelf of owned books that I've read and that I can now unhaul confidently and know that they're just not for me. But man, it really has me sad for this series, you know, because now I'm thinking like, gosh, is there a reason why some of these books are on my backlist? You know, like, is there a reason why I haven't picked them up yet? Because some small part of me is just like afraid that I won't like them. But with these 2 books, I definitely feel like that was the case a little bit for me. Like in the back of my mind, I was like, well, maybe I won't like these books, but I am really sad about the bell chime because for some reason in my head, after reading that premise, I was thinking to myself, like, this could be a 5-star read. Like, this could be a new favorite. And I feel like it's especially devastating when you read a book that you really thought you could love and it ends up being not that great. Damn, I'm just so upset about it. So hopefully the next round of the series could go a little bit better. I think at this point I am planning to do these videos like every other month. So I'm hoping that I could do another video like this, maybe in late June, but if not in July, for sure, I'll do another video like this. And I'm excited for it, but I'm also nervous now because I'm like, what is going on? These backlist books in the next video better deliver, I swear to God. But thank you so much for watching as always. And if you've read any of these books, of course, I would love to know what you think about them. I would also love to know what you think about this backlist bonanza series and if it's still something that you're enjoying. I appreciate any of your feedback always. Thank you so much for hanging out and for watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye.